Basketball people, we have news. Let's go to more news about the Golden State Warriors. I ask you to give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, as I am a Warriors fan. Brandon Podziemski is a talented, bold, and confident player and could very soon be a star for the Warriors. Warriors young point guard Brandon Podziemski has a lot to gain this season, especially since his goal is to show he can be a cornerstone of the franchise after the Steph and Draymond era. The Warriors coach is confident Podziemski will show consistent growth. That said, Kerr acknowledged the obstacles the young point guard has faced over time. It's possible to expect Podziemski to play more. I think this is a year where he takes another step forward. To get through this tough period when you're in the starting lineup, in the playoffs, with the spotlight on you, you have some bad shooting nights. Every player goes through that. He's a tough guy and a tough player. I think he's on a very natural progression to continue improving, Kerr said during Warriors training camp. Podziemski still needs to work on specific aspects of his game, especially his decision-making. Still, Coach Kerr and the front office have complete confidence in his abilities and have a plan in mind for him. Brandon Podziemski appears positioned for a breakthrough season with the Golden State Warriors. Multiple indicators suggest significant progress, including Steve Kerr naming him the most incredible player during training camp. He could secure the starting shooting guard position, particularly if Kerr deploys small ball lineups. Warriors expert Dalton Johnson believes Podziemski could become the team's third scoring option behind Stephen Curry and Jimmy Butler if he addresses his shooting consistency. Brandon Podziemski prioritizes confidence over technique after Stephen Curry mentorship. Podziemski recently discussed his shooting development, focusing on mental approach rather than technical adjustments or volume increases. He credits learning this mindset from the greatest shooter in NBA history and his teammate Stephen Curry. Curry, shoots 10 threes a game. He's not gonna go 10-4-10. And, sometimes, he'll go 1-4-10, but it's the confidence to shoot which I think I've developed, Podziemski explained. It's just being free, being me and living with the results, he added. The mental adjustment addresses a critical element of offensive production that separates good shooters from elite ones. Curry's ability to maintain confidence despite cold stretches represents a skill Podziemski aims to emulate. Statistical evidence supports Brandon Podziemski's optimism about shooting trajectory. Examining Podziemski's statistics reveals solid shooting performance last season. He shot 37.2% from three-point range, with a 37.8% career mark across 2 NBA seasons. Those percentages represent respectable numbers for young players. Podziemski primarily needs consistency management, especially when increasing his shooting volume as expected in an expanded role. Last season, his three-point attempts increased compared to his rookie year. While his percentage declined slightly, the drop wasn't statistically significant and likely reflects natural variance with increased volume. Curry's mindset about confidence and acceptance of results could transform Podziemski into a more reliable shooter. If he successfully implements this mental approach next season while maintaining his technical foundation, he genuinely could become the Warriors' third scoring option they desperately need behind their established stars. NBA Insider reveals solution to Warriors' Jonathan Kuminga minutes issue. A significant NBA story that unfolded over the summer was the future of Jonathan Kuminga with the Golden State Warriors. It seemed that both parties wanted to move on from one another, but neither would budge on any agreement that would let them do that. For now, Kuminga is a Warrior after agreeing to a 2-year, $48.5 million deal. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Kuminga does provide a young spark that this much older Golden State team needs to lean on. The West is as competitive as it's ever been. Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler are still dynamite weapons, but they will need some sort of dynamism when those two sit out. This could very well be the spot that Kuminga gets slotted into. That's at least what Brian Geltzeiler suggests. The NBA Insider broke down how Kuminga could be an effective tool for the Dubs during the latest edition of SiriusXM NBA Radio. Geltzeiler began by reminding listeners that Curry was recently asked in an interview how many minutes he expected to play per game in the 2025 to 2026 season. His answer was 32 to 33. Well, that leaves 15 to 16 minutes that he's not on the floor. So if you're telling me you don't think Kuminga is a good fit with him, okay. Play Jonathan Kuminga in those 15 to 16 minutes and let him be a lead piece in the offense, stated the popular analyst. This wasn't just a blind suggestion either. He brought up how Kuminga and Butler complemented each other quite well one season ago. Because when last year him and Jimmy Butler were in there together, Jimmy Butler is very unselfish. Jimmy Butler will play in multiple systems. He's not a guy that is a complete system guy, and if Butler has to subjugate his game a little bit for a younger teammate that can score, we've seen Jimmy Butler do it. That is not an issue. He's right. It's not an issue. The problem is that Kuminga and head coach Steve Kerr butt heads on his minutes per game. It could also be that he has an issue with Curry. That's by no means confirmed, but Golden State continues to lean on the chef as their main option, a point that Geltziler mentioned. I don't argue with that. But when he's not on the floor, it's okay to have Jonathan Kuminga play a lot of minutes. For whatever reason, Steve Kerr and this kid don't connect in that way. It is nice that the insider is at least presenting options for the Warriors. They don't have much to lose by giving Kuminga a real shot. He's young, athletic, and hungry to prove he can be more than just a role player. If Kerr and Kuminga can get on the same page, that bridge between generations from Curry and Butler to the next wave, it could actually work. But if the tension keeps up, it's only a matter of time before one side finally decides they've had enough. Steve Kerr picks out what he loves most about LJ Cryer and Will Richard after impressive preseason win. Steve Kerr had high praise for new signings LJ Cryer and Will Richard, calling them winners who can contribute at a high level. After months of stalling, the Golden State Warriors have put together their roster in quick fashion. And after one glance, it's hard to call their roster anything less than impressive. After re-signing Jonathan Kuminga for $46.8 million, the Warriors made quick work of their offseason, signing Al Horford, DeAnthony Melton, Seth Curry, LJ Cryer, and Will Richard. The Warriors have looked good in preseason so far, going 2-0 in their first 2 games. It has been encouraging to see the Warriors play so well together. LJ Cryer and Will Richard have been impressive in training, according to Steve Kerr. But after their outing against the Trail Blazers, the Warriors head coach went above and beyond in his praise for them. Steve Kerr lauds LJ Cryer and Will Richard's winning mentality, credits their college tenures. Steve Kerr spoke after the Golden State Warriors win over the Portland Trail Blazers. Kerr took time to single out Will Richard and LJ Cryer for praise. In particular, Kerr pointed to Richard and Cryer's respective stints with Houston and Florida in college as a big reason for why they're on the Warriors and thriving. LJ shoots it really well. I think he shot 43% for Houston last year. I love that he played for a winning program. I told the coaches there was a reason that Will and LJ played against each other in the national championship game. They came from great programs and are both winners. That's one of the reasons they're both here. He, Will Richard, just plays with a lot of energy. Plus 21 or something like that in 16 minutes. He made a big impact. He's smart, reads the game well, and makes the right play. LJ Cryer fighting for final two-way spot on the Warriors. As things stand, Will Richard has a guaranteed contract with the Golden State Warriors, and will be available on the roster next season. The Warriors do have one more roster spot, but that will go to Seth Curry when he signs in November. So LJ has no shot at earning a full-time contract. However, the Warriors do have one more two-way contract spot left, which Cryer can fight for in the remaining preseason games. If he can continue playing at the level he has for the last few months, he won't have too much trouble securing a two-way contract. Stephen Curry believes Jimmy Butler can help Golden State make another championship run. Stephen Curry has spoken about the differences between the current Golden State Warriors team and the one that won the title in 2022. The Warriors are aiming to secure their 5th NBA championship, which would mark their first since 2022. Achieving this milestone within an 11-year span since their initial title would be a significant accomplishment. Right now, the roster appears settled. The core trio of Stephen Curry, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond Green is expected to lead the way. LJ Cryer and Will Richard are two young players who have been catching the eye of the coaching staff and will be counted on to make an impact throughout the season. While there's no question about what Butler brings, Curry feels this group still reminds him a lot of that 2022 side, even with Butler's influence changing certain aspects of how they play. Stephen Curry highlights Jimmy Butler's impact on Warriors compared to 2022 team. Speaking with Malika Andrews of ESPN before the season got underway, Stephen Curry shared his belief in the Golden State Warriors' chances this year. He drew some parallels between the current roster and the one that won the title in 2022 but pointed out that Jimmy Butler adds a new element that could make a real difference. When you go toe-to-toe, top to bottom, we feel like we match up well with anybody. And we just want to have an opportunity to show that in the playoffs. When we won in 2022, if you had told me in training camp that this was the team that would win it all, I would have believed it. I think there's a little similarity here. But Jimmy adds another dynamic that we didn't even have then. So I'm excited to see it all the way through. Jimmy Butler's playoff credentials speak for themselves. The Warriors didn't bring in Jimmy Butler just for what he offers over an 82-game season. His impact in the postseason is where his value truly stands out. Between 2020 and 2023, Butler led a Miami Heat team that was far from elite to 3 Eastern Conference Finals and 2 NBA Finals appearances. Given what he achieved with limited support, the thought of pairing him with Stephen Curry and Draymond Green is hard to ignore. LeBron James out of Lakers season opener versus Warriors. The next chapter of Steph versus LeBron will be delayed. Per the Los Angeles Lakers and confirmed by ESPN's Shams Charania and Dave McMenamin, LeBron James will be sidelined 3 to 4 weeks due to sciatica on his right side. That means James will miss the season-opening clash between the Lakers and the Golden State Warriors. The 40-year-old James, who will be turning 41 this December, didn't participate in the Lakers' first 2 preseason games and has also yet to participate in a practice session. A fact new teammate DeAndre Ayton didn't gloss over when asked how it was like working with James and Luka Doncic. Per the Mayo Clinic's official website, sciatica is described as the following condition. Sciatica refers to pain that travels along the path of the sciatic nerve. The sciatic nerve travels from the buttocks and down each leg. Sciatica most often happens when a herniated disc or an overgrowth of bone puts pressure on the lumbar spine nerve roots. This happens upstream from the sciatic nerve. This causes inflammation, pain, and often some numbness in the affected leg. While it is assumed that Doncic will remain on track to start against the Warriors, not having James around is a huge blow for the Lakers and also a huge blow for the league, who has made bank this past decade on the marquee matchup between this era's biggest rivalry, James versus Stephen Curry. The beginning of the next chapter of that rivalry will have to wait a while further. Eric Spoelstra replaces Steve Kerr as Team USA HC for 2028 Olympics, who has more NBA rings as a coach. Miami Heat head coach Eric Spoelstra is set to take the helm as the head coach of Team USA, leading the squad into the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles. He will succeed Golden State Warriors head coach Steve Kerr in this prestigious role. Team USA, one of the most successful basketball teams over the last decade, is already planning for the 2028 Olympics set to take place in Los Angeles. In a significant development ahead of this premier global event, Eric Spoelstra will replace Steve Kerr as the head coach. As reported by ESPN's Shams Charania on The Pat McAfee Show, Miami Heat's head coach, Eric Spoelstra, will assume the responsibility of leading Team USA in the upcoming Olympics, ushering in a new era for the team. With this decision, the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles will feature Spoelstra on the bench, orchestrating Team USA's quest to reclaim the gold medal, a feat they have fallen short of only once in the past 3 decades. There is ample time to deliberate on the squad that might represent the country at those games. However, one name that may not be included is LeBron James, who will be 43 years old at that time. Who has more NBA championship rings as a coach, Spoelstra or Kerr? Steve Kerr holds the edge over Eric Spoelstra in terms of NBA championship rings as head coach. The head coach of the Golden State Warriors has secured 4 titles, while Spoelstra has claimed 2 with the Miami Heat. Team USA's new head coach earned both his championship victories in Miami, whereas Kerr's 4 titles came with Golden State. Kerr's tenure as the head coach of Team USA was an undeniable success, and with Spoelstra at the helm, there is optimism that this new era will continue the legacy. Spoelstra, who served as the lead assistant under Kerr and was instrumental in the team's gold medal victory at the 2024 Olympics in Paris, now has the opportunity to further build on this foundation. The outlook for the upcoming Olympics in the United States appears promising, especially with emerging NBA talents set to make their mark in the next season. The focus will be on whether this new generation can sustain the legacy established by their predecessors, or if another country will rise to alter the historical narrative.